Welcome back to Glass Cast from the National Glass Association and Glass Magazine. I'm Katie Devlin, Vice President of Content and Programming for the NGA, and once again, I'm joined by my terrific colleague, Rachel Vitello, Associate Editor of Glass Magazine and Window and Door. We've got a great episode again today. We're going to be playing some highlights from another one of our sessions from the recent BEC conference out in Vegas. Before we dig in, I thought it might be fun to get a little sneak peek of some of the things, Rachel, that you are working on for Glass Magazine and Window and Door. What's on your plate? What are you thinking about? What are you working on?
Yeah, we have some great content coming up for the July-August issue of Glass Magazine. I'm working on a school security feature that will be focused on performance, products, and then possible regulatory actions that the glass industry can anticipate. I'll also be working on a feature on internal training programs, the importance of those, how you can develop your own, all of that good stuff. And then, of course, in the September issue of a Glass Magazine, we will have the Glass Magazine Awards, which are much anticipated. The submissions for those has since closed, but I know that we'll have amazing submissions as always, and I'm excited to get those out there for people, and we'll be celebrating those at Glass Build America in Orlando as well.
Well, and this is our celebratory 75th anniversary of Glass Magazine, so we're incorporating that into the awards as well. You all have some kind of project retrospectives in the submissions as well this year.
Yes, I'm very excited. That's a new category that we're doing. So those will be really fun to see. Yeah, and just talking with some companies that have been around for a long time and, their legacy and projects that they're proud of.
Yeah, the 75th anniversary has been a lot of fun. Our colleague Nora Dick, who's editor of Glass Magazine, she's been working at going deep into the archives, looking through the earliest editions of Glass Magazine, which was, Glass Dealer originally by name. Some of those covers are just they are something else. We will need to post a link in the show notes to a LinkedIn post that Nora had up posting some of those covers. But I need a poster or t-shirt with some of these 1970s era Glass Magazine covers. They're pretty
They're
pretty
very
spot
groovy,
on.
I think was the word someone used.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Well, let's get back to today's episode. So we are going to play an excerpt from a presentation on lean construction. David MacNeel, founder of On Point Lean Construction, presented at BEC. This is, lean is not a new concept by any means, but it is still something that, that a lot of companies have yet to fully incorporate with their on-site practices in particular. So David, he works to help companies apply these philosophies on their job sites. And Rachel, you were in the audience. What stood out to you from David's talk?
What really stood out for me was right off the bat, he hit us with some statistics that, at least for me, were very surprising. I think a lot of people in the audience found them pretty surprising. He said that 70% of construction projects are either late, over budget, or both. And that number goes up as high as 90% when we're talking about mega projects, which are ones over $500 million. So I would say that's definitely what stuck out to me the most.
Yeah, wow. Uh, yeah, so during his presentation, David got into the details about how glazing firms can bring lean principles to the job site, because it is a sort of change in philosophy for the way that projects are executed. But for this podcast, we're just going to start with the high level why. Why lean construction can and should be brought in. What are the benefits to your company, to the project itself? So that's what we're going to be playing during this excerpt. But before we get started, I do want to shout out our BEC media sponsor, Vitro Architectural Glass. Thank you for helping to make this podcast possible. And without further ado, let's move to David MacNeel, founder of On Point Lean Construction.
So what we're trying to do with lean and lean construction is deliver on time and on budget. The industry has a horrible track record of on time and on budget projects. I think the statistics show that roughly 70% of projects are late or over budget or both. And that number goes to 90% of projects being late, over budget, or both if it's a mega project, over $500 million. Another unfortunate statistic is that if you get into federal, state, local government type work, 70% of those projects end in litigation, being decided by lawyers and judges, right? That's obviously a failure. So you always want to kind of ask, what problem are we trying to solve? And I've kind of boiled it down in my head to just one thing: complexity. Complexity is what makes our projects so difficult, so many moving parts and pieces. And we never build the same thing twice. So I've done a lot of study about complexity and how do you tackle complexity? Another organization that does a lot with complexity is the US military. So I've done a lot of studying of that, and 2 books come to mind that I've read, one by Stan McChrystal, Team of Teams, and the other by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, Extreme Ownership, Navy SEALs. And they had some very difficult problems in our recent wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, dealing with complexity. It wasn't the same battle we had been fighting in World War I, World War II. It was very, very different. So boiled down, Stan McChrystal says, shared knowledge. How do we share the knowledge across our team and all the players on the team, our internal team, our workers, and the other workers on site? How do we get rapid adaptability? These jobs are always changing. There's always issues on every project. The other 2 that kind of fight complexity are really deep collaboration, really everybody on the same page, singing out of the same hymn book. And then extreme ownership, people owning the outcome, owning those results. So how do we do that? I think lean construction is one of the answers to that. So what is lean? Lean it's not an acronym. It doesn't stand for anything. It's sometimes capitalized with a capital L to signify it as a movement. But I like this definition: doing what is needed when it is needed with the minimum amount of time, material, labor, equipment, space, and expense. Doing what's needed when it's needed. So what is lean construction? It's a derivative of the overall lean movement, and it kind of comes from manufacturing. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The core principles of lean construction are continuous improvement and respect for people, and that's really with all lean. So continuous improvement is always trying to do better than you did yesterday or last week, never being satisfied with what we did, always trying to improve. And Toyota is a great example of that. They've obviously risen from the war-torn ashes of World War II to become the #1 automaker in the world. They're kind of the poster child for lean. And in their factory, one factory in 1 year got 80,000 improvement suggestions from the workforce. 80,000. How many did you all get from your workforce last year? It's probably not anywhere close to that. The other aspect of it is respect for people. And I always kind of struggle with that. I respect you, I respect your time. What does that really mean? And in further reading, I've discovered it's really tapping into that person and involving them in the process. There's a story about Bill Marriott Jr. I think he's still the current head of the Marriott hotel chains. And he tells a story about when he was a young man. He was just out of Navy boot camp, and he was home with his father over the winter. And his dad had invited over Dwight Eisenhower, 5-star general, went on to be president. And so there's his dad and Dwight Eisenhower talking about whether or not to go hunting that day. It was very cold, bitter cold. And he recalls distinctly Eisenhower turning to him as a kid and saying, "What do you think? What do you think we should do?" And he was just blown away by that Dwight Eisenhower would ask me what I thought. And he says, to this day, those are the 4 most powerful words I know of in the English language. What do you think? So a lot of lean is tapping into that workforce, involving the people that do the work, that really know how to get it done. We also look at increasing the value, right? If we're cutting out waste, we're increasing value, and getting our processes to flow. much like a manufacturing line, much like an assembly line where cars or equipment or door frames or window frames are moving in an assembly line fashion. We want our construction to flow that way. Now, we never quite get there because of all the variables, but the closer we get, the better we are and the faster we go. And then finally, the other piece of it is really bringing reliability and predictability to our work. We always get this, there's the saying that construction sites are commitment-free zones, right? Everybody's like, well, I'll try, I'll see if I can get it there, I don't know, I might be done, I might not. No, we want to be able to say, yes, I will have this done, it's installed, ready to go, X date, and deliver on that time. We're horribly unreliable in construction. So why do we need lean construction at the project level? Get you done faster, plain and simple. It enhances the quality. You do things one time and you do them right. You have a plan for quality as part of it. Better safety. When I first started rolling this out on projects in the early 2000s, we did a pilot project to start for 1 year. Second year, I said, this is how I'm going to run my work, and we did it on all 5 of my projects that year. There were 15 other projects going on in the region, so a total of about 20. 5 of them were mine, all of them doing lean. And at the end of the second year, we went back and looked at the statistics, and it showed that the 5 lean projects were 78% better in safety. Fewer incidents, fewer injuries, and I was very proud of that. It meant the workers on my sites, because of these processes, were 5 times less likely to get injured on one of my projects as they were the other projects. Both with very high elevated safety programs, lean was the difference in the 5 versus the other 15. And then finally, less stress overall. I spent my first 10 years at Baker kind of fighting my way through projects. Traditional, get it done, go as fast as you can. And we got things done. We got a lot of things done. Sometimes we made a mint, sometimes we lost our shirts. Never really knew why, never really cared. We got the job done. And I had young kids at the time, so I was missing a lot of soccer practices and ballet recitals and things like that. And I can honestly say, after we really dug into lean after that first year, we never worked systematic overtime on any of my projects. Now, we would work surgical overtime. Yeah, we would bring this one crew in early on a Tuesday and keep this one late on a Thursday. We never went to 5-10s or 6-10s or anything crazy like that on any of my projects. Some benefits for the companies, obviously increased efficiency, right? We're getting things done quicker, better, faster, safer. The cost savings, tremendous cost savings, and I have a case study that I'll show you about what that can do for a project. And it's really a competitive advantage in the marketplace. If you're the low-cost producer with the highest value, you are going to be selected for the work. And as we were getting very serious into this at Baker, it was right before the Great Recession, 2008, 2009. We kind of sailed through those because we had all these mega projects that carried through. We kind of fell off the cliff at the end of 2009 and into 10 and 11. So we were able to use the savings because we got really dialed into those efficiencies and use them to get work, make a profit. It was a very tiny profit, but we made it, and we kept our crews busy. And then when things picked back up, we were just as strong as we were before. So we weathered the downturn because of lean.
Well, thank you again for tuning in to Glass Cast. Again, that was David MacNeel from On Point Lean Construction. I'm Katie Devlin with the NGA. Thank you, Rachel, for being here. I know you and our colleague Lori Cowan from Window and Door Magazine, you're going to be joining for the next episode talking about second chance hiring, a terrific presentation from the BEC there. And one last thank you to Vitro Architectural Glass, our BEC media sponsor.